move here, but you kind of already have some quality private schools in the league with Tulane and I believe Tulsa. So I question the decision to add Rice. Again, this is no disrespect to Rice or the American Conference, but I know they're investing more, which is good. They have the money to, but do they have the support from a fan perspective? I don't know. So what do you make of this move of adding the Rice Owls?
Well, it goes back to what we talked about last week. It's another team in a major market that has no following. It's the mold of the American Athletic Conference. Let's just put them right up there next to Temple and Cincinnati. Well, I know Cincinnati's leaving, but all these schools in these major metropolitan areas that, again, like you said, yeah, it is weird, man. When you see stuff like this, it's like if it wasn't for money, I would be okay moving to the Sun Belt because at least these are small college towns where when our players go, it brings something. So to answer your question, because I guess I didn't, I kind of went off on a tangent. They bring baseball tradition and one College World Series title. That's what they bring to the conference. But that tradition has long been gone. And yeah, I don't know. There's not much else to say.
Yeah, I mean, as I look at it, if you're the American, you're banking on one thing, and it's a rich institution. Their endowment, Philip, is $7.8 billion. ECU, by comparison, is $211 million. So you want to talk about just having money to spend, to fall back on. I mean, they're a huge institution academically in terms of money. And, maybe you can make the argument like a school like SMU has taken all of its money that it didn't before entering the American, and they applied it, and they've had success. Maybe Rice follows in that mold. But having that in theory and then actually executing it are two different things. And I think even SMU had some tradition and history to fall back on, whereas Rice is just Rice. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll surprise all of us, but I don't know. This is by far the least thrilled of a team entering the American for me, Philip.
Agreed. Could not agree more. Yeah, it's a real head scratcher. Like you said, the endowment, I guess, that gives them upside, but still, why would they put money into the athletic program if people aren't going to show up? Especially when you're that high academically. Like, they don't get fans, it looks like. So if I'm, high up on the board at Rice, I would honestly just say keep my academics where they are. Keep putting the money towards that. Well, why invest in an athletic program that's probably not going to see return on investment anyways? I hope I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I would be thinking if I was some business person that did not care about sports and just cared about making money. And yeah, I don't know if they're going to put the money in that SMU did, but we'll see.
We'll see. Time will tell. All right, let's get our first break in, and on the other side, we will talk SMU. We'll talk to Jordan Hoffeditz, who writes for PonyStampede.com, covering the SMU Mustangs. We'll preview what to expect when SMU rolls to Greenville on a Thursday night later this season. You're listening to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Greenville's premier Uptown Concert Series returns.
Concert on the Common.
This year's acts include the Legacy Motown Review, June 22nd.
For more details and a full lineup of bands, go to concertonthecommon.org.
Greenville's premier Uptown Concert Series returns.
Concert on the Common.
This year's acts include the Leonard Skinner Tribute, Tuesday's Gone, July 13th.
For more details and a full lineup of bands, go to concertonthecommon.org.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact Greenville Allstate agent Derek Perry today at 252-758-8886. Are you in good hands?
Greenville's best restaurant for dinner, weekend brunch, and spirits is Seared Chop House on Fire Tower Road. Seared Chop House is the place to go for choice cuts of USDA meats, excellent seafood, and an impressive selection of wine and cocktails. Seared Chop House has been recently renovated, and you'll find a fresh look to the restaurant and bar area. To order online, check out the menu, or to reserve the Seared private room, head over to SearedChopHouse.com. Treat yourself tonight at Seared Chop House.
Greeting friends of Eastern North Carolina. If you're looking for a great place to work with competitive pay and a multitude of advanced opportunities, Pitt County Schools is hiring. We employ over 3,500 people, and we're one of the largest employers in Pitt County. We are currently seeking teachers, bus drivers, school nutrition personnel, facilities staff, custodians, clerical staff, and more. We offer advanced leadership opportunities to our educators and competitive pay for our skilled labor force. If you want to be part of a thriving school system that focuses on educating students, growing our employees, and promoting positive mental and physical health habits, we encourage you to become a part of our Pitt County Schools family to help ensure success for the future of Eastern North Carolina. To fill out an application, visit our website today at pittschools.org. That's pittschools.org. And remember, education is truly a team effort. Pitt County Schools. Live and lead.
Need $1,000 to $10,000 immediately for a gift for someone special, car repairs, or unexpected expenses? Time Financing Service offers competitive loan rates. Apply online and get your answer in less than an hour in most cases. Then you can pick up the cash at any of our 24 convenient locations. Apply online 24/7 at timefinancing.com. That's timefinancing.com.
Time Financing Service.
All loans subject to current credit policy of Time Financing Service. 1 hour loan approval and same-day cash in most circumstances. Exceptions may apply.
The Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Steve and Igoe.
Yes! That was so good!
On 94.3, The Game.
All right, welcome back into this Monday, June 12th edition of Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game. We've been running over East Carolina football opponents for the upcoming 2023 season for the better part of a few weeks now. We're going to do a couple today. We got Tulane coming up later with Corey Glore, former voice of ECU baseball, now the voice of the Tulane Greenway. We'll talk with him. But right now, we're going to interview Jordan Hoffeditz from PonyStampede.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, to talk about SMU ECU, October 12th. It'll be a Thursday night. And Jordan, it's been a busy offseason for you because every time I get on Twitter, I see SMU getting a transfer commitment, it seems like. So what has this offseason been like for Rhett Lashley, his program, as they look to add talent into this program?
I think it's been a big one for him. I think it's everything an SMU fan should have wanted to see in year two. I think last year, they got some big transfer splashes. But I think them being on campus for a full year really got to see maybe some of the holes that were there, some of the issues, some of the things that needed to be addressed right away through the transfer portal. And they pretty much hit it from day one hard, had a bunch of guys from the transfer portal on campus this spring. And I think it's made a pretty instant impact for them.
Jordan Hoffeditz from PonyStampede.com covers the SMU Mustangs. And Jordan, you look at this transfer list, and we'll get into what's also coming back and, what's gone, what are some of the questions about this 2023 SMU team. But it's almost like they've addressed every single position. I don't know if there's a position they didn't address. 26 transfers listed by 24/7 Sports, ranked 12th nationally in terms of a transfer recruiting class. ECU, I think, has close to 16 or 17 as well. So they have a big transfer class too. And, there's pros and cons building through the transfer portal. It is risk in some way, but also can be a big reward. So, what do you feel like led to this approach where they are being so transfer heavy versus maybe relying more on development, that sort of stuff?
Well, I think it's been interesting to kind of see how they've approached it because they certainly do have a handful of guys with just 1 year left that are going to be one and done, coming in for their final year of eligibility. But they've also got a couple guys through the transfer portal who have 4 years of eligibility left and 3 years, and then a bunch with 2. So they are kind of choosing to develop through the transfer portal as well. I think, it's something that in the recruiting, especially recruiting the state of Texas, when you've got some giants like UT and A&M and even, Tech and Baylor have had good approaches, and of course what TCU did last year and has done the last couple years, a lot of times you aren't necessarily able to get that Dallas area Texas talent out of high school when you're in SMU. But when they go elsewhere and it's either, further from home than they thought, there's a coaching change, there's extenuating circumstances of any kind, SMU has done such a good job of bringing those guys home. And just out of those 26 guys, a bunch of them are from the Dallas area. Then a handful more are from Texas. And then obviously you've got, I think there are 6 Miami guys, which is where Coach Lashley was OC before coming back to SMU, brought a handful of coaches from there as well. And a couple other, Liberty guys on defense where defensive coordinator Scott Simons was. So they've just done a really good job of, relationships, whether they were guys that were recruited by SMU out of high school, chose to go elsewhere and have come back. They're kind of winning that, I guess it's kind of that, second mouse gets the cheese kind of approach to it, but they've done such a good job of finding a way to get these top players into the SMU locker room and onto the field wearing an SMU jersey that if it has to be through the transfer portal, so be it. If it has to be for just 1 year, so be it. If you get these guys for 2, 3, 4 years, even better.
Following recruiting and following the NIL stuff, I feel like SMU was maybe the first team or one of the first teams in the American to really get behind NIL. The donors supported it. I think that's paid off with their recruiting. You look at the numbers the last few years. Even high school recruiting has been at a very high level for the American Athletic Conference. What type of difference do you think it has made SMU fans getting behind NIL and offering some pretty good money to players to come into their men's basketball and football programs?
Well, I think what SMU and the people who support SMU have done a really good job in is there are 2 collectives, and there is one that's basically all about everybody on the team getting X amount of dollars. And then the other one is kind of all of the extra stuff. What I think, the collectives have done and the supporters have done a really good job of is, if you want to be somebody that just wants to be a part of helping these college athletes and just being a part of making sure they get kind of a yearly salary, if you will, you can be a part of that collective. If you want to be maybe the guys that are on the, hey, what maybe extra do we need to get this guy? You can join that collective. And then I think from a standpoint of a lot of it shows there is a lot of support for the SMU athletic program. And I know, a lot of jokes get made about, the half-filled football stadium and this and that and the other thing. And I think what the collectives have done is showed that there is at a high level a very big interest in SMU athletics being successful. And I think that also, any kid's going to want some extra money in their pocket, but to also have kind of that recognition of support and support at a pretty high level really does a lot to you to say, hey, look, we've got these people pouring money into the athletic program. We've got them pouring money into facilities. They're working on the $110 million end zone project right now on the football stadium. We've got them pouring money into our student athletes. They've got a great program that's Life After Ball that gets the student athletes internships that helps set them up for their time after SMU if that's not a professional route for them. So I think just they've done a really good job of supporting these athletes and showing kind of that support structure that's going to be there for them financially, academically, all the way through until even after they're done with their time at SMU.
We're visiting with Jordan Hoffeditz, who covers SMU for 24/7 Sports. SMU will roll to Greenville on October 12th, a Thursday night ESPN game. Should be a good atmosphere come October. What could be a big game in the American? So I want to ask Jordan about, Sonny Dykes, of course, leaves SMU for bitter rival TCU. That in itself is got to be a pretty brutal choice for the fan base. And I know there was speculation about him leaving, but when he left for TCU, how much of that spurring the fan base? And then also you guys, obviously at SMU, play TCU pretty much on an annual basis. So what is that rivalry like now? Is it even taken to the next level?
Oh, definitely. I think obviously when you're kind of a school at SMU, like SMU, you kind of figure that maybe you're a bit of a stepping stone for coaches, Coach Morris came in and had some pretty good success. He then leaves for a head coaching job at Arkansas. I don't think there were too many people that were hurt by him leaving for Arkansas. When Sonny leaves down the street for your rival, that's a little different. And then, of course, there was just everything that went about with it where, it was kind of speculated and reported and everything during the end of the season. And then the team ended that season so poorly amidst those rumors and everything else, left a really bad taste in people's mouths. And, I think there's something to be said about SMU beat TCU the last two times they played going into last year. And probably would have been 3 had they played the 2020 game. I think SMU came out a little flat in that game and really pushed them there at the end. And so I do think it takes us to another level. SMU goes back to Fort Worth this year where they've won the last 2 trips there. And it's going to be an interesting environment, especially depending on how some things go early in the season for both teams.
ECU and SMU battling on October 12th, and both teams have a big question at quarterback, Jordan. East Carolina, of course, losing Holton Ahlers. And kind of similar circumstances, ECU, one of their top recruits in program history, Mason Garcia, has been kind of waiting his time to be the guy. He's in a battle with Alex Flynn. And then you got Preston Stone at SMU, who was a highly recruited guy, also has been kind of waiting to be the guy as Tanner Mordecai transfers to Wisconsin. So is Preston Stone kind of looked at as the starter at this point, or does he have to go out and win the job heading into the fall?
It's his job. I don't know if that's really been said point to that point. I think Coach Lashley has said enough about Preston and about the offense running around Preston and just the way spring practices were held, that it's Preston's job. He's a guy fans got a little bit of taste of. He started at Tulsa last year when Tanner was out with a concussion. Of course, that also ended Preston's season. He broke his collarbone a little bit before halftime. And so I think, that little bit of taste definitely got the fan base ready. Tanner's departure is such a weird situation because I don't think nobody thought he was going to be in an SMU uniform next season. Everybody knew that bowl game was his last time putting on the SMU jersey. I think most people probably thought that meant he was going to go pro somewhere, and maybe it was a little bit of a surprise that he stayed in college and that he transferred to Wisconsin. But I think pretty much from the end of that bowl game, this became Preston Stone's team.
Jordan, last question for you. A tough non-conference schedule. We talked about the TCU game, and then they play Oklahoma the second week on the road after opening with Louisiana Tech at home. But you look at the conference slate, I think it's very manageable. Look at the American Athletic Conference. UTSA, I think, coming in is going to be a favorite. I think SMU will be preseason pick pretty high. Memphis, I think, as well. ECU kind of a wild card with some rebuilding or reloading, whatever term you prefer. But, a good program under Mike Houston at this point. Is that ECU game early in conference play kind of a, maybe a swing game if the Mustangs want to compete for a conference title? It seems like that would be one of the more tricky games on their schedule.
Oh, definitely. And the fact it's the first, conference road game, it'll come midweek after off Saturday, so it'll kind of be about how the team adjusts to that a little bit on a little bit of a different schedule. But, I think the conference schedule lines up really well for SMU. They don't have to play Tulane or UTSA. Like you said, a couple of the co-favorites, the defending champion, in their regular season, but I think their 2 toughest games in conference are both on the road at ECU, and then in the next to last week of the season at Memphis. And that ECU game is going to be a really nice barometer of this team, of where it stands, of its aspirations of reaching the title game, hosting the title game, winning the title game. That's going to be an early kind of gut check for them. and it's going to be interesting to see how they react on the road, a place they don't necessarily play a lot, but that is a hostile environment. You can speak better to it if a Thursday night game is maybe whether that's an advantage for SMU if fans won't come out as much, or if maybe they will come out more than they would a regular Saturday game. But I think that's going to be a really interesting game for both teams as they try and make the top two and get into that conference championship game.
No doubt. One thing is for sure, the big student section will be ready to go. The rest of the stadium, we'll see. It may depend on what the early season success looks like as far as some of the older fans, but it should be a good atmosphere on that Thursday night. He is Jordan Hoffidis. Jordan, we appreciate it. We'll hit you up again before kickoff in October, and I'm sure we'll be sharing some info and back and forth before then. But I appreciate everything, and thanks for coming on today's show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's Jordan Hoffidis from PonyStampede.com. Good preview of the SMU Mustangs. I think one of the favorites in the league with all the success they've had recruiting and what they have returning going through the fall. All right, on the other side, we'll talk to another guy who is the play-by-play voice, Corey Glore, of one of the other favorites heading into the American Athletic Conference season. Of course, they won the big-time bowl over USC last fall, and we'll catch up with Corey Glore, the former voice of the Pirate baseball team as well. Old friend of mine. We'll talk to Corey Glore on the other side. You're listening to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Fantastic Sam's Cutting Colors Hiring Stylists. If you're driven, creative, and ready to make an impact, then we're looking for you. We offer competitive wages, flexible schedules, and professional training. So bring your creativity, style, and drive to your local Fantastic Sam's today and show us what you've got. Let our professional hair colorist create unlimited hair color transformations just for you. Possibilities are endless at Fantastic Sam's in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Moorhead, Jacksonville, and Calabash.
Have you had a colonoscopy? If you're between the ages of 45 and 75, you need to be screened regularly for colorectal cancer. Dr. Philip Goldstein at Carolina Digestive Diseases and Endoscopy Center wants to keep you healthy. Dr. Goldstein provides treatment and quality care for all GI needs. Just call the office at 252-758-8181. Appointments are always available within 5 business days.
Hi, this is Dr. Philip Goldstein reminding you that a colonoscopy can save your life. Visit our website, cddgastro.com, and come see us at Carolina Digestive Diseases.
Texas Roadhouse in Greenville is happy to support the community. At Texas Roadhouse, they not only want to be your favorite restaurant, they also want you to know they love this community and love supporting it. From providing food for charity golf tournaments to their school support programs, Texas Roadhouse is there when the Greenville community needs them. Also, it doesn't hurt that their food is awesome. Steaks, ribs, chicken, you name it, it's legendary. Texas Roadhouse, Southwest Greenville Boulevard, Greenville.
Hello, Eastern North Carolina. I'm Matt Murchison here at Greenville Nissan. I'm along with Scotty.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
I'm well, buddy. How are you?
Hey, this is awesome day.
It is. We got a great selection of inventory with some great specials going on.
We really do. We have something that we don't normally have over the last 3 or 4 months, Matt. Right. We have Nissan Sentras in stock, which is plenty to choose from. Folks, they're not going to last very long, and I'm going to give you a couple reasons why. 1, supply and demand. There aren't many of them out there. We're blessed to have some. 2, you're going to get more money for your trade right now than you ever have, even through the last 3 years of COVID. It's because of supply and demand. Matt, I know there's a lot of things you can tell us right now about lease payments.
Oh, yeah. We got a great lease special right now going on with the Sentra. We got a 0 down, $269 lease special right now going on the Sentra. We got a great lease special on the Rogue right now. No money down, $375 right there. The Pathfinder, no money down, $395. The Maxima, no money down, $375. It's a great time to come take advantage of these lease specials. Check out our website, GreenvilleNissan.com. Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Leases are 10,000 mile, 18 months, must pay tax, tag, title, and dock fee. See dealer for details.
Hallo, this is meine Auto. Und this is meine key. And there is only one place I trust with meine key. Meine Key Car Care. They even offer financing options, so I can fix now and pay over time. Ooh, I love financing. And options. And meine Key. And American cheese! Remember, I only trust Meineke with Meineke, your one-stop shop for total car care.
At participating locations, subject to credit approval, minimum monthly payment required. See store for details. Meineke locations are independently owned and operated.
We're live with Stephen Igoe on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back into this Monday, June 12th edition of the program. We're rolling right along with our opponent previews for the upcoming football season. We just talked about the SMU Mustangs. Now we're going to talk about the potential preseason favorite in the league, the Tulane Green Wave. And to do that, we're going to welcome in old friend of mine, Corey Glore. He is the voice of the Tulane Green Wave. Corey, how's it going?
By old friend, what are you referring to, knowing that I just had a birthday last week?
That's exactly it. I know you're getting up there in age, much like I am. So I knew as soon as you were say something.
Oh, wow. Wow, you have sound effects. They have thrown just a budget at you at Interbanks Media that I could not even fathom.
I tell you what, I didn't even expect that. So we got our producer Clark just pulling out all the stops today, man. But no, the show's gone well. I picked up a lot of tips from yourself over the years, so I appreciate all your help and everything. And it was good to reconnect earlier this year. I want to ask first, before we talk football, how weird was it calling a conference championship for a 40-loss team over the team you used to be the play-by-play announcer for, ECU baseball? That had to be an experience.
That was probably, I'd say, the final surreal event for me here since coming down to Tulane, was having that opportunity come, and not just because it was against the program that I spent 6 years with, but as you mentioned, it was just a mess of a year for Tulane baseball, and to make that kind of run, that I don't know if we'll see something like that again. That just added something to that day that it's still tricky to wrap my head around. That was strange. It was a thrill, and it was wildly unexpected.
Corey Glore is with us, and of course, baseball season now in the rearview mirror, but Tulane coming off a just phenomenal football season, one of the best in program history, 12-2. They won the Cotton Bowl right after a 2-10 year with a ton of injuries. They got all those guys back. It was just a great season. And I guess, what are fair expectations for Tulane going into 2023? I'm sure you've done a bunch of interviews about 2022 at this point, but, I know they've got a lot coming back. They also lost some key pieces. Where do you think fair expectations are for this Green Wave team?
I think it's, I don't know if it's at the point where fans are expecting, like, all right, let's get, back-to-back New Year's Six. Like, I don't think it's there. Tulane fans over the years kind of know realism, and optimism has been trickier to come by over the decades. So now that things are riding high, I think there's a little bit more of a perspective here from folks about contending for the conference championship is the barometer now this year, and I don't know where the New Year's Six slot would be for a Group of 5 team. I think it's the Peach Bowl, but I'd be foolish if I said fans would love to see that again. But I think with the way the league is going to be reshaping, and knowing that now that this team's not sneaking up on anybody at this point, they know that the challenge is going to be rather steep in terms of going back-to-back. I think there's an expectation of at least contending for the league again this coming year, but knowing that it's a little bit different being the hunted now as opposed to the hunter. And the type of schedule that Tulane has coming up this fall doesn't have a lot of wiggle room in terms of breathing for them. And so they're going to have to earn it this coming fall if they're going to go back-to-back.
So Tajay Spears obviously gone to the NFL draft, and the standout linebackers as well. But Michael Pratt is back, and there are some other key pieces back as well, Corey. And when you look at the team as a whole, what are the positions Willie Fritz and his group feel good about, and then what are some question marks as you go into the season?
Well, you hit on the two big question marks in running back and linebackers. There's not going to be much replacing Tajay Spears and what he meant to this team. It's an all-timer here at Tulane, what he did last year, but really throughout his career. And so there are a couple of guys they're high on in the backfield. We saw a little bit of Shoddy Clayton Johnson, Iverson Celestine last year. They're going to get some run. A true freshman coming in by the name of Arnold Barnes has really impressed them. And a guy that was injured in camp last year didn't see the field, and Mekhi Hughes, he was another guy that this team really loved before he injured himself before the season began. And so I think they feel pretty good about where they sit in the running back room. It's just not going to be, a one-man show and the dynamic weapon that Tajay Spears was. And Dorian Williams, Nick Anderson, those two linebackers, that's going to be tricky. Now they bring in a guy from Louisiana Tech and Tyler Grubbs, who was a terrific tackler at La Tech, and now he comes back home here to New Orleans. They think the sky's the limit with that guy. But around that group, they're obviously high on a fourth-year starting quarterback in Michael Pratt. Their offensive line is pretty much all back with the exception of their left tackle. That's the only substitution they have to make there up front. Their defensive line is all back next year, and they have a new defensive coordinator in which there might be a little bit more aggressive in terms of pass rush, unlike what they were last year. And so that front four all returns from last season's group. The secondary gets a little bit thinner, but they're really high on their two cornerbacks in Jarius Monroe and Lance Robinson. And so I think they feel good kind of across the board, but there's an obvious hole in the running back spot. There are some big weapons that need to step up in the linebacker room.
Yeah, you mentioned the new coordinator on defense and also the new promoted coordinator on offense. And normally I would circle this and be concerned about it for Tulane, but I feel like every time Willie Fritz has had to make a hire, he pretty much hits a home run. And there's been – you're not going to have 100% success rate in the coordinator positions, but it just feels like he knows how to hire. And I don't know, from your perspective, do you kind of feel like they won't miss too much of a beat even with some changes on the coordinator staffs?
I don't think so on the offensive end. Slade Nagel is now the new offensive coordinator, and we found out really at the tail end of last year that he essentially took over the play calling as last year went along. And so that's not going to be much of skipping a beat there. You do have a new offensive line coach in Dan Rouchet, and he comes over from his time. He was with the Saints for a long time, and so you have an NFL guy coming over as well as a new special teams coach, who's also coming in from NFL circles. Sheil Wood is the new defensive coordinator. He had a terrific defense at Troy last year, and so having a new voice there, I think that's going to be interesting to see panning out the first couple of weeks. Chris Hampton was zone coverage guy, but it really was he put that in place because he sensed that would be the best for the personnel that he had. Sheil Wood's a little bit more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball, what we saw with Troy last year, and so I'm going to be fascinated to see how things look on that end in the first 2-3 weeks of the year, especially with the competition that Tulane will have to open up the year. And if there's going to be a hiccup, it might be on that side of the ball early on just to get everyone on the same page. But the track record of Coach Wood has kind of shown itself over the last few years. So you're right. Willie Fritz just kind of has a knack of finding these guys to fill his coaching room. And by and large, they all seem to hit.
So Tulane travels to East Carolina in the yearly Corey Glore Bowl on November 4th. That'll be a big game. ECU actually travels, I think, to UTSA the week before then, and then Tulane finishes with UTSA at the very end of the year, which could have conference championship ramifications. But as you look at that ECU game on November 4th, we still don't really know what this ECU team is going to be. Just talking to people, I feel like the talent is there. There's just so much inexperience. But as you know, tough place to play. Do you think that could be a potential swing game on Tulane's schedule?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier with you, Stephen, the non-conference slate that Tulane has is not nearly as kind as last year, and they went to the Big 12 champion last year and beat them. But this year it's South Alabama hosting Ole Miss at Southern Miss is your first 3 weeks of the year. And so that's not going to leave a lot of wiggle room for you once conference play begins. And so a trip to Greenville, especially later on in the year, that is after Tulane's bye week. The bye week comes somewhat early for Tulane this year. And so where they are physically speaking, heading into a place that is tricky to play, and at least what we saw last year, a rather physical defense to play. Again, there's going to be a lot of changes with how ECU looks, but I don't think the style of play is going to differ too much. And so how things look for Tulane by that point of the year, seeing a team that is going to be pretty aggressive on you, especially on the pass rush. They will test a fourth-year starting quarterback. There's no question. And so, yeah, I think with where Tulane was last year, they were undefeated on the road, and so they know what importance lies there. And by that point of the season, ECU is going to figure out who they are that deep into the year. You'd probably rather see that team in early October as opposed to early November. But with what we've seen from Mike Houston over the last couple of years, they will by that point have long figured out where their strengths lie, even with a bunch of new personnel coming in. So it's going to be a test. There's going to be no question about it. Going to that place late in the year, when you're kind of beat up and your bye week's well in the rearview mirror, that's going to be a challenge.
He is Corey Glore, the voice of the Tulane Green Wave. Corey, we appreciate the time on today's show, man. Always good to hear from you. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. It's always good to hear from my old friend.
Steven, it's a pleasure to be your old friend. Welcome to the dark side known as sports radio. You're doing great work. Keep it up, pal.
I appreciate it, man. I'm trying not to get too worn down and too old too quickly, but I appreciate it. That is Corey Glore, voice of Tulane. On the other side, we'll be rejoined by Philip Pilkington to wrap up today's program. You're listening to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Hear 94.3 The Game anytime on the IBX Media app.
Is it free?
Yes.
The only app you need.
I love the app.
Download it for free in the App Store or Google Play and get to your favorite radio station in 2 clicks. All your sports, music, talk, and podcasts, including the latest from Stephen Igoe at Hoist the Colors and year-round coverage from the East Carolina Sports Network. Listen live anytime, anywhere to ENC Radio's best.
I always listen.
Download the app.
The IBX Media app.
It's time to enjoy the outdoors. And at Moore's Barbecue, we have the perfect packages to meet your needs. From our backyard barbecue pack to our family feast pack, we will make sure that your picnic, social, or family gathering stands out and no one leaves hungry. Come on into any of our locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, or Jacksonville. There's enough great food for everyone. We're sure you'll agree if it's not Moore's, it's less.
Pepsi Zero Sugar has a new, better flavor. A Zero Sugar Cola has never tasted this good. But we don't expect you to take our word for it, so we're putting it to the test. Starting with me. Cue the fireworks. We have an official best Zero Sugar ever. It's delicious, it's refreshing, and it's so good you'll need to try it for yourself. Pepsi Zero Sugar. Zero never tasted so good. That's what I like.
Happy 100th anniversary to Minji's Bottling Group. Congratulations on 100 years of refreshing Eastern North Carolina.
It's time to travel again, and it's time to enjoy the convenience of flying from Pitt Greenville Airport. Reservations are available now at AA.com. Whether you're flying for business or leisure, Pitt Greenville Airport and American Airlines can get you to Charlotte and then anywhere on the map. You can't beat the convenience of parking right next to the terminal and the short lines at ticketing and security. For your next trip, check out the great rates offered at AA.com and support your local Pitt Greenville Airport.
Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group is not your typical insurance agency. We educate you on your insurance choices rather than sell you a policy. We offer protection plans including home and auto insurance, healthcare plans, crop and farm insurance, business insurance, and more. We go the extra mile to find a solution for you even when it's not easy. We take pride in supporting our communities as well as our clients. Come by one of our offices to talk with a trusted risk advisor today. Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, your whole world covered.
Hundreds of hours. That's a lot of time to spend honing your craft. But for Fantastic Sam stylists like me, that's just the beginning. Each stylist receives advanced training on the latest techniques and styles, so we can deliver fantastic cuts every time. From wavy curls to textured bobs to curtain bangs.
I can drop by anytime, and I get a free shampoo with every cut. So when I stop in for a trim, I leave looking and feeling fantastic.
Possibilities are endless at Fantastic Sam's in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Morehead, Jacksonville, and Calabash.
What's happening?
Tell me what's happening. Every ECU fan's one stop for all things ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igoe on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome in to Hoist the Colors, wrapping up our show today, Monday, June 12th edition. Great conversations with Jordan Hoffeditz from Pony Stampede and also Corey Glore from the Tulane radio booth. He's the play-by-play voice of Tulane. Philip, what did you learn from our interviews as Philip Pilkington rejoins us? Did you learn anything new about the Green Wave or the Ponies that may cause you to reassess your thoughts on the Pirates' schedule this fall?
I don't know if I would say completely reassess, but I learned a lot about SMU as far as it goes to the transfers, because I was a little worried with Tanner Mordecai going back to a Power 5 program. Obviously, he came to the Green Wave from Oklahoma, so he was originally recruited by a Power 5 program, as well as just other pieces they lost. I mean, it was a pretty good football team last year, but a lot of those starters departed, and it's interesting to see how well Rhett Lashley has done in the portal, and looks like SMU may not be taking a step back this year, and that's kind of unfortunate, I guess, when you're a team in that conference, because they were one of the teams towards the top, one of the teams you had to look out for to potentially play in the conference championship game, and I think they will be there again, or in contention to play in it again this year.
It'd be nice if some of these teams that are mainstays in the American, in a new look American, could win some non-conference games early in the season to really open some eyes. For example, Tulane taking on Ole Miss in week 2. I don't think it's an unwinnable game, but certainly a tough game. You've got SMU traveling to Oklahoma, traveling to TCU. You've got East Carolina, of course, taking on Michigan. Not saying the Pirates are going to win that one, but just have some good showings early in the season to show, hey, this may be the American without UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati, but we're still going to be the best of the rest, so to speak. And I think non-conference plays where you make that statement.
You do, and this is going to be important moving forward, because the college football playoff is going to expand, and the top group of 5 conference champion is going to get in. And, I understand that's a couple years down the road, but in order to have teams go in highly ranked already into those seasons when the college football playoff gets expanded, you need to have success in previous years in order to get that respect, because it is 5 conferences fighting for one spot. And the big thing is when you get in that college football playoff, it's going to be a lot of revenue for the conference. So it's big. You obviously, like you said, you want to see those teams have success. And I think there are a lot of opportunities. Will they capitalize? Only time will tell. But the key thing is there are opportunities.
That is the voice of Pilkington. Thanks again to Corey Glore and also Jordan Hoffett. It's been a fun show. We'll continue our previews tomorrow with Kevin Fielder, who covers FAU. We'll also have Shane Winkler, the head softball coach at ECU, in studio tomorrow at 12 noon on Hoist the Colors. We'll be back with you then. Thanks for listening on 94.3 The Game.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igoe. Tune in weekdays at noon for all things ECU sports. Get a recap of the show at 943thegame.com, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're back tomorrow with more of Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Ottavola in Greenville is your local marketplace. Ottavola offers diverse menu selections, casual lunches, and family meals ready to go. At Ottavola, they specialize in the creative use of fresh ingredients, seasonal menu selections, and fun culinary creations that will satisfy even the pickiest taste buds. Treat yourself to lunch or dinner at Ottavola, and make sure to join them in the bar on Saturdays from 4 to 11 with friends to enjoy the limited menu that includes many of your favorites. Ottavola, Red Banks Road, Greenville. I'm with my health insurance agent, Bill Jenkins. Bill is an employee benefits specialist and life insurance agent from Town Insurance. Bill, give us an update on Town Insurance here in North Carolina.
Town Insurance is a top insurance and employee benefits agency in North Carolina and ranks in the top 50s nationwide. We have primary offices in Greenville, Kinston, Wilmington, Raleigh, and now Charlotte.
And Bill, what are areas Town Insurance specializes in?
With our experienced account management team, we specialize in employee benefits, including group medical, dental, life, vision, disability, and voluntary options for employees. We compare these options with several of the best carriers in the market and assist businesses on benefit administration as well as employee education and enrollments.
And how can a business best contact you to review their employee benefits program?
Give us a call, 252-756-8300.
Call today, as the best time is now to come to town. Attention business owners and management, Roebuck Staffing of Greenville and New Bern is here for you. Will Roebuck and his staff are committed to fulfilling your staffing needs. Whether you're a contractor, a manufacturing company, or if you just need janitorial or clerical work for your business. Roebuck Staffing also does temporary to permanent and direct hiring. Roebuck Staffing is your trusted partner for all of your staffing needs and employment opportunities. Call Roebuck Staffing at 252-364